There is no club in German football with a more tragic fate than Borussia Dortmund. For decades they have existed in the shadow of Bayern, but unlike other rivals of the Munich giant, Dortmund have always gone the hard way. If Bayern is a ruthless car, then Borussia is a real family. It is enough to look at their yellow wall, the most devoted fan base in Europe, to understand this connection between the club and the fans. But the statistics are relentless. 5 European Cup finals and only 1 trophy, a record 10 second places in the Bundesliga. However, the real tragedy of Borussia is not in defeats, but in the fact that the club has become the best launching pad of world football. They find young talents, polish them to a shine, but when they are ready to shine for real, they lose them most often in favor of their worst enemy. Take Mario Götze, the future of Borussia, the author of the winning goal in the 2014 World Cup final. His transfer to Bayern Munich was a blow below the belt for Dortmund fans. In Munich, he won 3 league titles, 2 German Cups and the Club World Cup, but never recovered from his injuries. Returning to Dortmund only added fuel to the fire. The fans did not forgive him for his betrayal, and Götze himself was no longer that bright talent. But the most painful departure is Robert Lewandowski. Borussia gave him a chance when others weren't even looking at the Polish striker. For 4 years, he was probably the best scorer in the club's history. He won 2 league titles and the German Cup, and then went for free to Bayern, the very team that took away the Champions Cup from him in 2013. In Munich, Lewandowski became a legend with 344 goals, all possible trophies, and a fight for the Golden Ball. It was especially bitter for Dortmund to witness this triumph. They didn't get a cent for the transfer of their best player. History repeated itself over and over again. Mats Hummels, a graduate of the club, a captain who joined the enemy camp. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is the league's top scorer, who traded Signal Iduna Park for Emirates. Most recently, Erling Haaland, whom Borussia transformed from a promising Norwegian into the most sought-after striker in the world, only to lose him in favor of Manchester City. And finally, Jude Bellingham, a promising prodigy from the Championship, from whom Borussia made one of the best midfielders in the world, which I eventually lost, albeit for a lot of money. The paradox of Borussia is that they do everything right. The best scouting system in Germany, amazing work with young people, and an electrifying atmosphere at the stadium. But every time they seem ready to challenge Bayern, the club loses key players. It's like being a talented artist whose paintings are bought as soon as they're finished, preventing you from creating a true masterpiece. The financial gap between Dortmund and the top clubs is too big. When $100 million come for your player from the Checkers, it's practically impossible to resist. But the most annoying thing for fans is to see their favorites flourish in other teams, especially in accidents. Borussia has become a victim of its own success in growing diamonds. They're too good at what they do. And yet, despite all the disappointments, the Yellow Wall continues to support its club. Because Borussia is not just about football. This is the story of how a small town of less than 600,000 people challenges the football giants that even losing battles can save face. And maybe someday the stars will converge so that their diamonds will remain to create a team. Erling Haaland broke into Borussia in the winter of the 20th year, almost as soon as he flashed the Champions League for Salzburg. In just 2 years, the Norwegian turned into a self-dangerous forward in Europe, leaving 86 goals in 89 matches after him. Amazing statistics that gave the world an idea of the scale of his talent. Keeping a player of Dortmund's caliber, of course, is impossible. In 2022, Haaland moved to Manchester City for a ridiculous, by current standards, €60 million. His debut season in England made history, and he himself has already won everything in English football at a young age. For Russia, it was just another bitter-pilled, and even more revealing story. Jude Bellingham. The Englishman came to Dortmund as a 7-year-old teenager in 2020 and left in 2023 as an already formed leader. 24 goals and 25 assists in 132 matches do not convey the full depth of his influence on the game. Bellingham breathed football, read the game like a veteran, and literally dragged the team forward on his shoulders like a true leader. His transfer to Real Madrid for €103 million was a record for Borussia, but it's symbolic that he helped Real Madrid beat his former team in the 2024 Champions League final. The Borussia phenomenon is that the club is able to unlock the potential of players like no other. Take Jadon Sancho. In the 19th season, he scored 20 goals and 19 assists over the age of 20. Manchester United paid $72 million for him. But in England, the child prodigy turned into a grey mouse. 5 goals and 3 assists in his debut season against his own 12 goals and 15 assists in his last season for Borussia. The irony of fate. When Sancho returned to Dortmund on loan in 2024, he played at a high level again and helped the team reach the Champions League finals. The yellow and black colors seemed to magically restore his confidence. Why is this happening? Perhaps it's all about the unique atmosphere of the club. The signals going to the park with this yellow wall gives players unlikely support. The coaching staff of Borussia knows how to work with young talents, giving them the freedom to create. In Dortmund, they believe in their students. Perhaps that's why miraculous transformations happen so often here. But there is also a downside to sadness. The club is forced to balance between sporting ambitions and economic reality. Every time it seems like they've put together a team, they take it apart piece by piece. They turn unknown guys into superstars, but they can't enjoy the fruits of their labor. And yet, despite all the disappointments, Borussia continues to find its way, educate, and let go, because they have no alternative. And if Sancho hadn't left, maybe we would have seen a completely different player. It's the same story with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. The Dortmunds brought him from France, and he became one of the most striking players in the world. In the middle of the 10th, Aubameyang scored 141 goals in 213 matches, including a 40-goal season. But the V Arsenal crossing was the beginning of sunset. The fans of Russia still can't forgive him. He'll stay longer. Perhaps the club would have won more than 3 trophies. American prodigy Christian Pulisic was called the LeBron James of football in his youth. He scored 19 goals and 26 assists in 127 matches for Russia. That's why Chelsea paid him $58 million. İlkay Gundogan is another example of the Dortmund diamond. In 5 seasons, he has grown into one of the best midfielders in Europe. Not the brightest, but incredibly stable and versatile. After joining Manchester City, he became the captain and key player of one of the leading clubs in the world. So why did Borussia become a transshipment point? Firstly, there is a financial gap with the top clubs. Secondly, the ambitions of the stars. Everyone wants titles and big salaries. But most importantly, Borussia is too good at developing talents. They create ideal conditions for growth, but they cannot keep the finished product. Borussia Dortmund is a champion Sambo club, but with a medium budget. Their tragedy is not in the absence of funds, but in financial realities. Unlike Bayern with its global sponsors or the oil clubs of the Premier League, Dortmund are forced to count every penny. Every transfer, every salary, every renewal of the contract. Everything should be economically justified, but it wasn't always like that. In the early 2000s, Borussia was recklessly chasing fame. Large expenses, risky signing, and, as a result, almost bankruptcy. In 2005, they decided to take out a loan from Bayern to pay the salaries of the players. This is a humiliating lesson taught by the club to live through mediation. Since then, Borussia has changed its course. She turned from a buyer into a seller, from a grandee into a springboard for the stars. They have one of the best scouting systems in the world. But no matter how sad it may be, their business model is based on the cultivation and subsequent sale of talents. They can't compete on salaries with Bayern Munich, Man City, PSG, or Real Madrid. They can't promise mountains of trophies to just stay afloat. You have to make the most of every moment. But there is a bright side to this sad story. Borussia offers young players something that rich clubs cannot. A chance to play at the start, grow up in an atmosphere of trust, and shine in the Champions League. Their system puts talent above the hierarchy. If a 7-year-old guy is worthy, he will play. Take a look at Haaland or Bellingham. They chose Dortmund for that very reason. Contracts in Borussia often include lucrative compensation, not because the club wants to sell, but because it's part of the deal with the young talents. Come to us, grow up here, and when you're ready, we'll let you go to your dream. And yet, no matter how you look at it, it's a story with a sad ending. A club with such ethics and approach would deserve more. Imagine if all their stars had stayed. Borussia would have bought trophies for a long time, but instead they have to be a training base for top clubs. This is the main tragedy of modern football. Borussia is a beacon of hope in the world of petrodollars, proof that you can be competitive by selling your soul. But every year it becomes more difficult to survive with such a club. Someday we'll look back and remember, Borussia Dortmund was the last romantic in football, which is gradually turning into a business corporation. They are playing a financial war. They are playing in the hearts of the fans. And while there are such clubs, football still has a soul. The problem is that no one knows how long this soul will last in a world where money decides everything.